So we are glad to welcome Teresa for shorter. Maybe I mispronounce your name. I'm known to do that. You will correct me. To this talk for today, and will be done kind of a very different way than normal, and you will see how. And Teresa is a librarian, and she has this project that she has been doing. And I discovered her, I realized, because somehow I bought some postcard from her. And then I saw the title and I said, interesting, let's contact her to find out more about it. And then she volunteered to do this presentation. So, Teresa, if you want to say something, and then I can launch the presentation.
Yes, well, I just want to say hello to everyone. I don't think I've ever been in a group of so many people that share a similar interest with me and their enthusiasm for postcards. I'm excited about being here today. I'm kind of new to the game of postcards. So for many of you, you strike me as a very invested group, committed to postcards, part of these postcard clubs. I've never been in a postcard club before, so this is a whole lot of fun. And yet, one of the things that I think you'll gain from my connection to postcards is I bring heart with it. There is such a rich history to postcards, and yet what I have found, and I think it really was solidified during the COVID years, was that longing for connections. It's interesting that we're all here on Zoom, and yet we also need these personal connections, big and small. And being able to hold that special postcard in your hand became very important to me. And I feel like I've been able to share that love with others. So I come from it, not so much from a historical point of view, and yet more from an experiential point of view. Why is this phenomenon of postcard creating, sending, receiving, collecting so near and dear to so many people? Why is it that there's a place called the Newberry Library in Chicago that senses the importance of collecting them? And what is the future when we start out a conversation in here like Denmark not having a post office anymore? So hopefully my little jab in the world of my postcard project has exposed some others to join in the love of postcards. So I made a little presentation because I tend to get talking too much, and I wanted to be succinct. I hope it doesn't sound too elementary to you lovely people, but take it away, Clarissa. It's about 12 minutes, and then we can pop back in and talk as you wish.
Hello to the Capitol Beltway Postcard Club. My name is Teresa Hoercher, and I am the founder of the Postcard Project, located in Auburn, New York. What a treat to receive a phone call from Clarissa with an invitation to serve as a guest speaker. I really am honored. A little about myself. I grew up in Auburn, New York. After college and newly married, I started my career as a children's librarian in Geneva and Henrietta, New York. I took a bit of a detour and worked with Junior League of Rochester setting up the first lending toy library in Rochester, New York. Later, I returned back to Auburn with my husband and 4 children. Who knew the power of postcards? I think that my love for children's books was inspirational. and was a shift for me to postcards. There's something magical with the dance between images and words. Layer it with handwriting, stamps, and the experience of sending and receiving postcards, and it's no wonder there are so many people that love postcards.
Teresa, what is your favorite thing about getting a postcard in the mail?
Oh, well, first of all, I really like my post carrier. Her name is Evelyn and she's terrific. And when I find that postcard in the mail, it really makes my day.
Something happened when I discovered these two postcards. My heart melted when I saw my mother and father's handwriting. Some may call these two simple cards a glimpse back in time, but I call them absolute treasures.
Where did you get the idea for the postcard project?
Well, it all started with a New Year's resolution, and I decided to be better at communicating with people through the mail. So I was buying lots of postcards and sending out postcards, and people seemed to like it. Later on, I decided I can make some postcards by myself. And so that's when the postcard project began in 2019. And I started making lots of postcards that made me smile.
My love for postcards was growing, and soon my family was receiving customized postcards, one of her childhood home, and another of a caricature of the 10 of us as siblings.
Where do you get your inspiration for the postcards?
Well, it first started with the phrase from my brother who looked at me and said, I think you've got something here. And so I started my first set of, you're from Auburn postcards. But it really has been a lot of local friends, people that I've met along the way, and honestly, amazing photographers that have jumped on board and are part of the postcard project. They are my inspiration.
Retirement presented me with an opportunity to take this hobby to the next level. I discovered support from some of the most wonderful local folks, including photographers, printers, and a website designer. My son suggested that I view this as a passion project and connect it to a local organization for donations. While it's set up as an LLC, I operate as a nonprofit. The core of my postcard collection are designed as booklets. I think this is reflective of my career as a librarian. The booklets have a theme and the postcards tell a story. I've come a long way from my original You Know You're from Auburn If series, and it has been tons of fun. My son was right. It is an honor to run the postcard project as a passion project. To date, I've been able to donate over $8,000, along with lots of free postcards, back to the community. I was at a local market and a young mother came to my stand and said, "What's the project?" I thought to myself, well, postcards, of course. That question landed in my heart, and I have run with ideas ever since. It seems to me the project is now the biggest side of the postcard project house. The Little Free Postcard Mailbox was born. She began in January 2024, finding a home at a local park within walking distance to my home. Each Monday, I put 7 to 10 postcards in the mailbox for visitors. One postcard has a stamp. In the mailbox is a journal for people to leave a note. People share the most beautiful, personal, and thoughtful notes, remembrances, thankfulness, and memories. I love the pictures from children. Folks from many states have stopped by Hoops Park and left a note in the journal. Wouldn't it be fun if more mailboxes like this showed up in various locations? Meet Gretchen. She wrote a poem on one of the postcards and left it in the mailbox. I was so touched and immediately went on a journey to find this poet. With the help from the school librarian, we met. I brought my granddaughter Zoe to our meeting, and the girls collaborated on turning her poem into a postcard. There are free copies of Gretchen's postcards at the school libraries. The 5th grade Pen Pal project started last year for the first time. 2 5th grade classrooms, one in Auburn, New York, and one in Skaneateles, New York, exchanged postcards throughout the school year. I gave the students a brief history of postcards. I taught them how to construct a postcard and send a postcard. This is a concept that is unfamiliar to most of the students and even many of the teachers. We talked about the unique personalization of handwriting. At the end of the school year, the students made their own set of postcards. The culminating activity was a field trip. The 2 classes got together for a picnic lunch. Now listen to what the children had to say about postcards and their reflective essays.
Postcards are a good way to communicate with people. My class participated in the Pen Pal project. I received some postcards from my pen pal in Skaneateles. It was exciting to receive postcards in the mail every couple of weeks. I wrote my pen pal back, and she was so excited too. I loved learning about my friends using postcards to write back and forth. Herman Ave, 5th grade pen pal project. Have you ever gotten a postcard from someone? I sure have, and it's super fun. The best feeling ever is receiving one. Postcards are so fun to do. They are a great way to talk to someone, and you don't know, and even if you do know them, it's still fun. It's still a fun way to communicate, especially if they are far away. This year, my classmates and I did something called the Postcard Project. We got a partner from a different class and sent postcards to each other. When we finished writing to each other at the end of the year, we got to meet with them and had the best time. Doing this project has shown me how fun and interesting postcards really are. Herman Ave, 5th grade pen pal project. Furthermore, postcards can make you learn a lot about others. For example, instead of a short text or email, sending a postcard can make you write a lot. Also, the person you're sending to knows you're putting in hard work with writing and sending. Plus, you will probably learn more about them with a postcard than a text. To sum it up, a postcard is a way better alternative than a text to learn about someone. Herman Ave, 5th grade pen pal project. Postcards are exciting and interesting and make people happy. Getting a postcard is so exciting because you can't wait to see what the writer said. My teacher came into class one day and said, "Hey, Leo, you've got mail." I felt so excited to see what my pen pal wrote. He asked me questions about sports and fishing, and it made me feel so happy. I was quite surprised that we had things in common. It motivated me to write back to him. Herman Ave, 5th grade pen pal project.
The 5th grade Pen Pal project is running again this year. There's also a new project. I have been working with the Auburn High School graphic design and new media class. They are coming up with a set of postcards. I'm very excited. Last September, I made a presentation to the class about the history of postcards. George Eastman and Kodak are in our backyard, so the evolution of photography for the amateur are a proud slice of our local history. You press the button, we do the rest. These are students that were born into a world of technology. Their classroom is filled with all kinds of technology. The idea of postcards seems quaint and perhaps a bit old-fashioned to this group of students. The class has reviewed all my postcards series. They are using this template to create their perspective. The class will also be visiting the local printery, Finger Lakes Press, where I do my business. This is an example of quality experiential learning and community collaboration at work. The postcard project has been such a fun ride, but it's not over yet. So what's next? Since I love a good project, 2026 will be devoted to the continuation of selling, sending, and hopefully receiving lots of postcards. But I have two ideas that are already in the works: a book called Let's Talk Postcards for Kids, and the Postcard Project Traveling Vending Machine. Stay in touch to find out what happens. Dear Capital Beltway Postcard Club, thank you for this invitation. What a treat to share time with fellow postcard enthusiasts. I appreciate your interest and curiosity in the postcard project. Now, let's chat.
Thank you. Never too old to learn. I was wondering if you could share an address with us that we might send you a card or two.
Oh, I'd love to do that. And perhaps even I could send the address to the 5th grade school that is engaging in this pen pal project, because they have great fun with all the folks from around that I talk to just here locally that are sending postcards to the class.
Sure.
So yes, should I put that in the chat, Clarissa?
Yeah, you can put your address in the chat.
Thank you, Hal.
Yes, I'm very impressed with what Teresa's doing. I think the fact that this is being introduced to young children in our day and age, when so many of them are looking at screens all day, and getting, thinking about the aspect of them writing using a pen or pencil or whatever. I think that's really important going into the future, that you introduce a postcard to a younger generation, because I could see, with where we're going in society with it dying out, I think that's excellent.
Scott, thank you for that. It's interesting because it's not only the children at that level, it's not just the next generation, it's the next generation and the following generation, where many of these teachers, it's a new concept to them too, or, oh, they picked them up on vacation. But I feel the kids get such a kick out of it. And one of the things that I'm particularly curious about is watching this organic growth of a companion or a friend that, I'll say to them, you're going to use your head and you're going to use your heart and you're going to use your hand. And then at the end of the school year, you're going to use your eyes to meet your pen pal. It's like that magic of storytelling when you've created the images in your head, and rather than have them planted in there by the visuals in front of them. So yeah, I think they're gravitating to it quite nicely. I don't know how long they'll stick with it, but they all take a set of their own postcards home for the summer, and hopefully they stay in touch with their pen pal.
Well,
Rick?
a great idea. I appreciate hearing about it. Thank you.
Teresa, did you find when you work with these kids that sending postcards is the first time they've ever mailed something and written an address on something. It seems to me that young people these days don't know how to even address a piece of mail, let alone having sent something. Did you find that to be true?
Absolutely. I'll jump back even a little bit further than that. For many years, I worked at the community college here in Auburn, Cayuga Community College, and I ran a tutoring program. And so I worked with, these stellar students that were so accomplished in a subject area. And I watched the magic of them working with other students. So one day I went out to the writing table and there was a lovely young man who was a writing tutor, and it was quiet. And I said, can you do me a favor? And would you put the return address on these envelopes? And he looked at me like paralyzed. And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. And there he was, our writing tutor in college. And so it was becoming clearer to me, this exchange of handwritten letters, cards, postcards was more of a novelty than a regular experience. So I love the fifth graders because in the New York State School District in fourth grade, they do a lesson on how to write a letter. And it's just a lesson. It's one lesson. So following it up in fifth grade, where they each have 10 to 12 postcards they send over the course of the school year. So they get familiar with it. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. What grade did you say that they teach that in school? How to write a letter?
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade? Okay.
Yeah. And I only know that because I've gotten a letter home from my grandchildren with their very best penmanship.
You know, I have a niece that is in Italy, and she stopped answering WhatsApp because it was too much, and I'm the aunt, who cares? But I'm sending her postcard every 6 weeks or so. And I saw her this summer and she said, yeah, it's so exciting when I receive a postcard from you. So she knows I'm thinking of her and it's a way to keep in touch. And she doesn't answer, but at least she knows I'm there once she decided to be wise enough or old enough or mature enough to decide to answer to her aunt. Max?
Yeah, I want to kind of second the motion that it's a novelty for kids. My kids are now around 40 years old or so. And when they were young teens, we showed them how to write. It was a letter, not a postcard. But the fact that a personal communication could exist on a physical artifact and a mailman picked it up and it went through all these systems and it came out the other end to their grandparents' house and to their mailbox, they really were fascinated by that process. And that's because, and like every other kid who was in that age group, they probably really only ever communicated. I mean, at that time, they talked with their grandparents all the time, but it was, chatting through Prodigy, I think, at the time. And now most of the communication takes place through something like WhatsApp or chatting or texting. So they don't frequently ever, use this anymore. But I thought that it was so interesting that they thought it was a novelty and they really, appreciated it. So I think just introducing kids to this old school stuff, which is really what it is now, is important. Just in the same way, it's important to teach them how to write a check, which nobody knows how to do under the age of 20 anymore either.
Well, I'll piggyback your comment, Max, and say I'm equally grateful to this teacher that wove it into her curriculum. Like you, Joe, making an experience be part of that learning process. Learning is that the magic that happens with sharing and receiving. And so just today I was in a fifth grade classroom and the kids love talking about I told them the story of how I found that word joy snack from a podcast. You know, what's everybody's little joy snack in life? And maybe it's your morning cup of coffee, or you know, checking the baseball scores, or what's your joy snack? And so they know my joy snack is a postcard, receiving a postcard. And I think that they quickly identify the power of that word once they get one from their pen pal. That, because I can't explain what that feels like, that you've got mail, and they do like it.
As Lila asked on the chat, how do you choose what stories or images go on the postcards?
Lila, that's a good question. Well, I started with doing things that are local. So I did one on Auburn and Skinny Atlas, and then you know, it's a little nonprofit, so I sell them. And that means I have to be in the world of social media, which makes me want to pull my hair out, but it is a reality. But it was from a Facebook account that people introduced me to local photographers. So we've done an awful lot on seasons, and then we did some kids postcards. I see we've got some Rochester people here. I did 3 different sets for the Strong Museum and a set for the Rochester Museum and Science Center. So it's kind of like I find them or they find me. Yeah, and that's where I am right now. So I'll be curious to see what the high schoolers come up with.
Have you thought about introducing them to post-crossing?
You know, there's only so much tiptoeing I can do in the classroom, and that's part of the book.
Yeah.
I mean, I think back when I was a child, I had a pen pal from South Korea, and we all have experiences with letter writing as children or adults, but these kids don't. So they've got this opportunity that I've helped them with. They've got the little free mailbox that I've started, and so that's part of the book.
Okay. Dawn, you have a question?
I have a question, yeah. Do you have them ever do art postcards at all? Because when I had my girls, I found that they have art, like a canvas postcards that you can do watercolors on. I thought that was really cool for the girls. And they sent them to their grandma and stuff.
That sounds lovely, and I've seen those. I wanted them to create their class booklet and kind of go through the cycle that these go to our local printery, Finger Lakes Press, and so they work through their art teacher at school when they make them. So they aren't as special as what you're saying.
No, but that's just different way to do that.
Yeah, lots of different ways. You know, one of the fun things that I was really excited about this year, I did an awful lot of postcard creation, but there is Camp Wyowasko on Owasco Lake and Lourdes Camp on Skinny Atlas Lake. They both worked with me, and each of the resident campers received a little 6-pack of postcards, and they were pictures of the camp. And really, it was designed to, again, create that experience. They're at camp, they're away from phones and television and computer. So write a note to grandma, write a note to mom and dad, and maybe collect an address from somebody who's out of town, and then you can write to them after you leave camp. But the way that I got that job, I guess you could say, is I found 2 postcards that my daughter wrote to myself and my husband when she was in camp, maybe over 25 years ago, the same Camp Ayahuasca on Owasco Lake. But I had just gone to the post office, and back in the day, they would just sell you the white postcard that was already pre-stamped. So, you know, she went to camp with them addressed. Now write your postcards and send some home to mom and dad. So when I sent that to the director of the Y, he's like, oh, let's do a set. So that was fun this summer to get the kids involved in it that way.
You should look up at the set of Girl Scout camp postcards. They're hilarious, some of them.
Well, yeah.
Hi, Teresa. I was wondering if you have a website that you can buy some of your postcards?
Oh, thank you for asking that, Sherry. Yes, I'll put it in the chat box.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Sherry stole one of my questions, but I actually wanted to make a comment. You were talking about how I love your work, by the way, with working with kids, but
Thank you. Wait a minute. I can't. Oh, there you are. I feel like that's Brady Bunch. I'm trying to find the. Okay.
You're talking about how postcard can bring people joy, and I had a recent experience. I went to Florida for a short vacation, and I mailed postcards to my colleagues at work, and I expected it would take like a couple weeks, but some of them got it like in 3 days or something, and they were so freaking excited. They you know, said thank you. They all know that I make millions of dollars every year on selling postcards on eBay. I've got a Scrooge McDuck swimming in the money bin. But they you know, so I occasionally show them the cards I sell, but they, you know, these are just, you know, right off the rack, you know, basic tourist postcards, but they stuck them up on their doors, and they were far more excited than I would have expected. And another one, I bought a Neil Diamond card on eBay for my boss who likes Neil Diamond. Her name's Karen, and I wrote, even before you were born, I wrote the song Sweet Karen Mine for you, but the producer misheard it, and he refused to change it back. So all these years, people have been singing it wrong. Just wanted you to know, love, Neil. And then I said, don't tell your husband. But she said it was one of the nicest things anyone had ever done for her, and I was surprised that it was that big. But so yes, just a little postcard in the mail is can really make a difference.
What a great story. And it is, I'll say to people, if someone keeps popping in my mind, right now there's somebody who keeps popping in my mind that I used to work with, and that's my hint. He needs a postcard. So it doesn't take more than a few minutes, and it really can be a gift.
There is Girl Scouts are doing postcard exchange. So girls in a troop, they try to collect a postcard from each state. And
you know, it's funny. I gave a ton of my first postcards I did through a commercial printer, and I didn't like them. And then I found this local printer, and I really have gotten much better with design. But I gave a lot of my old postcards to the Girl Scouts because I was hoping I'd be able to connect with them on some kind of a project. But I'll have to revisit that, Clarissa.
There is I can send you later, but there is a Facebook page for Girl Scout Exchange, and regularly they put, my troop is starting, they want for this state. So I always send them Maryland postcards. I have a whole bunch of them. And another great avenue for finding interesting postcard is Etsy.
Yeah, well, and the other thing, like Philip was talking about selling postcards on eBay, I do get folks that will reach out to me and say, you know, I have my mother's collection of postcards, and I think we all, you know, struggle with these artifacts that mean so much to us. They are our heritage, they are our heart. But pretty much my world of postcards are the new ones, and creating this experience with students. But I have to say, like, Philip, like, one of the things I've done is I've been working with golf courses too. So like Oak Hill in Rochester, New York, you know, they had the US Open or one of the tournaments there. So oftentimes what I'll do is I'll buy a postcard from eBay because everybody had postcards of like Rochester, New York, Oak Hill, 1958. And then I'll, you know, how about a new set? Shall we update these? And that's been a lot of fun. So I appreciate the old postcards, the availability, all the work that folks do organizing that and selling them.
Any other questions?
I would like to add, thank you very much, Teresa. Great presentation and very interesting. And I connect to so many parts of what you were saying there. If I could just add that students, once students are taught about postcards or mailing or letters, they really run wild with it. And it's something that I feel that they're going to do during their life once they're taught. So there is some hope for this young generation. People always ask me, what are they doing? What are they into? You know, are they on? And yeah, they're on their devices. I mean, absurd amounts of hours or whatever that is. But at the same time, I can get classes of students, 150 students a year, about 8 different rounds of students to write letters, postcards, learn about addresses, stamps, and all the things you were saying, Teresa. And then also the art piece is a big piece too, creating the art on the front of the postcard. They really like to do that. And like you were saying, Teresa, it's a big investment for teachers because I'm doing this outside of the curriculum. We're supposed to be learning medieval history, you know, and we are, or United States history. But then, you know, I bill it as, hey, it's the first 20 minutes of class. They're 85-minute periods. So the first 20 minutes of class, we work on the postcard stuff, and then we transition into other stuff. But you just can't expect all teachers to do that. You can't expect all teachers to want to do that. Many teachers, it's foreign to them. But I just find it really, really great experience. And then this past summer, some students went to Washington, D.C., and they sent me a couple of postcards, and they sent 2 postcards, but they all wrote their names on each of the postcards. So there was those 2 postcards represented about 40 kids. And so it was their way of just, you know, saying, hey, we're doing it now. So it was a pretty big deal. They did that on their own. And when I've taken field trips to Washington, D.C. with students, I've done it a couple times. We go to the Postal Museum, and then everyone sits down and writes a postcard, and then we go downstairs and they mail it off there. And then the kids learn that, oh, wait, it shouldn't be called snail mail. It arrives in 3 days anywhere, you know? So kids are pretty hip to that they're saying, you know, I have kids routinely saying, but why do people say it's snail mail? It's pretty fast. You know, it's pretty, things come in 3 days, 4 days. That's pretty fast to us. So I thought that's all these little pieces I pick up all year. And a lot of times I wish everyone in this room or everyone was able to hear all the things that I hear and experience, because oftentimes it's just myself. And then I'm thinking, geez, everyone would want to hear what they just said. So it's just really cool. And a lot of great experiences out there. And so, yeah, a lot of this connects. Right now, I have all my students writing letters, not postcards, but letters to the 101st Airborne Division, because they're connected to our city here in San Mateo, California, going back to 1968. So everyone chose one of the squadron people within the squad, and then they're writing letters to those guys and ladies. And so it's kind of cool. So there is a lot of still letter stuff going on, postcard stuff going on, but you have to take the time to do it with kids, you know, and that's been my biggest thing, is just, hey, I'm going to make the time to do it. And it works out great. So I encourage that to everyone. Just give them
Can,
time and they'll do it.
kids are always open to anything that's thrown at them.
Yeah.
We
Always.
should not forget that. I was a Girl Scout
Yeah.
leader for 20 years.
Yep.
And the project we did, and the parents was like, what? My daughter is interested in that?
Yeah.
Yes, if you
Yeah.
open to them, they will soak it up.
Exactly.
Not necessarily forever. I mean, I'm not,
Yeah.
no, but they
So thank you.
will take it and run with it.
Joe, one of the things I just wanted to share, I'm not sure about your school district, but one of the sources that I donate to every year is the Auburn Education Foundation. And so many school districts now will have an entity connected to it for, you know, alumni, with a board that will select projects that aren't sanctioned by the school district through the taxpayers' money for the curriculum designed by the state for little projects like stamps. Like that was last year I donated all the stamps to the 2 5th grades. That was a lot. But when you want projects to grow, and we're introducing them to creative folks like you, there's a cost factor. So I hope that you have some resources that will support all this good work that you're doing with your students.
Thank you. I'm very lucky to have a good budget through the PTA that I work with. I'm usually buying 600, 800 stamps a year. And so I'm looking at rolls right now that I just, I'm giving out stamps every day. They get in line, they go to the printer, they come out, I give them a stamp. So they're, not every day, but they're, yes, about 600 a year, I think, about it, 600 to 800, 100 rolls. So yeah, it's going well, but yeah, you got to have. And then I buy that card stock. That 100-pound card stock is good for those postcards because, like Dawn, I think that's your daughter, Dawn, you're with. The watercolors come out really good on that 100-pound card stock if you're gonna create postcards with watercolors or collages. So the kids like that a lot. Yeah.
But postcards are more powerful than we think. We just had the election. I wrote about over 700 postcards to push people to go to vote. And of course, I'm in one party against the other, but nevertheless, they are caricature, they are designers that do postcards just for that, to push people to go to vote, and they're all handwritten, hand addressed, and mailed. So I spend also quite a bit because spending 700 postcards, over 700 postcards for that project.
That's interesting you bring that up because one of the ways that I get into this with kids, I say, well, go and research before we start making postcards. Look through the mail that comes to your house or your apartment for about a month and tell me all the postcards. And they start telling me, well, the dentist sent a postcard. There's all this political postcard. I got a postcard from the car dealership. And then they start rambling off and we come up with 30, 40 different postcards that they've seen. Then those are postcards, oversized ones and everything. So kids really tune into that, and that's something that's really eye-opening to them when I tell them to do that. They're amazed by that postcards are all around them without them even knowing that they're around them. So that's another good way that you reminded me of, Clarissa, that kids are already aware of postcards. It's just they need to be told that, hey, those are postcards, and so they just look different. So
they look here because they're bigger, but
yeah.
Well, the one I mailed are normal size, the 4x6, but there is a lot. And if you look at the acceptance speech by Crawford in Wisconsin, a judge, that was elected last spring, she thanks all her volunteers and the people that mailed postcards. You can see in her speech. I was shocked.
That's been a piece that has been nagging at me that I would like to work with the US government students at the high school level to create a series of postcards that, like, what is the role of a school board member? What is the role of the city councilor? What is the role of the mayor? Like, create a postcard that defines it and then allow them to write postcards to ask a question. They are the newest, they're going to be the newest voters either by the time they graduate or shortly afterward. And I do believe, as Joe and Clarissa and probably all of you feel, that we're surrounded by a lot of images and messages, but something that's handwritten, there's no other postcard out there like it. Maybe the front, but not the back, because it's your message. That's a lot.
And also when you send a message, you know, in the mail to advertise for something, whatever is political party or a car dealership, a postcard, you see it. A letter, you say, oh, I don't care about this, and you trash, you didn't even open it. While a postcard, you're forced to at least see the image. Okay, you may trash it still because you're not interested in the dealership, but as an advertisement potential is stronger because you are forced to see the message, and then you have to decide what to do with it. Well, Teresa, as you can see, there was quite a bit of discussion and things. So I hope you will join some of in Postcard Club in the area to learn more about postcard, even if it was in the past, or like most of us collect. But I love modern postcards as well. And I collect those as well. So
Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
yeah.
Thank
So
you.
thank you very much for your presentation and everything. So a round of applause virtual.